What's up, Fit Fam? It is Coach Kayla coming at you from my garage gym, which is still a work in progress. I think we're actually going to paint that wall tomorrow, so you might see something different for next week's foam rolling series. But I'm here for our Wellness Wednesday intro to foam rolling series, right? And last week we talked about shoulders specifically. This week we're going to talk about hips. And my purpose here is to provide as much value as I can. I want to show you guys how you can fix some of the problems you might be dealing with, so you can create more mobility in your hips. That way you can feel better, move better, get stronger, all those things, right? So the hips are very complicated, just like I was saying with the shoulder. So when the muscles surrounding the hips get really tight and tense, it creates immobility in the hips, and then that will cause other muscles to then compensate to try to move, right? And then they get tight. So if you don't take care of the problem when you start feeling these issues, right? Like if your hips aren't moving very well or you feel pain, you don't want to just work through it all the time. You really want to make sure that you are trying to fix the problem so that it doesn't cause any other issues anywhere. A lot of the times it won't even stay in the hip. It will go to your knee, your ankle, right? And then you just have a lot of issues, and then vice versa, right? If you have ankle issues, it can go up to all these things because everything is connected. And when you create an imbalance and you don't take care of that imbalance, it will create other imbalances, and then we're hurt and it's not fun. So I'm just gonna go over a couple stretches. If you have any specific questions, as always, leave them in the comments. Please feel free to ask any questions, and I will make sure that I include them in another video, or I will message you separately and try to help you solve the problem. So when you're rolling these muscles, right, we're gonna start with the outer thigh first, the abductors. So you're going to be using your upper body, which I know a lot of people were kind of talking to me about when we were talking after sessions about foam rolling. They're like, I feel like I'm using a lot of my upper body. And you're going to, because you have to hold yourself up. And the tighter you are, the more you're gonna feel the weight on your upper body and your arms, because you're not gonna be able to give all the pressure and put all of your weight on your legs if that is where you're feeling that like tenderness, right? So it's gonna be a little bit of upper body, but obviously there's ways to make it more comfortable. So when you're rolling this muscle out here, right, and we have our IT band here, all the muscles here in the quad are tight as well. We're gonna try to stay kind of up close to the hip. Your right leg is on the foam roller. You see that my toes are pointed forward, right? And then the left leg is gonna come up and over the right leg, right? And now all of the pressure is going to be here on my right leg. I'm going to put some pressure on my upper body. You can be here, you can hold yourself up here, and we're gonna just slowly roll. We're gonna stop about there. We're not gonna go too deep into it. We're gonna save all the legs for another day. And kind of right up to the hip joint, you might feel your kind of hip bone up here, under here. And you can also kind of go forward with it. Just don't go too far. We're gonna stay off the quads here and down, right? You're kind of going back, right? Once you feel kind of where you're feeling that extra pain, extra tightness, you want to sit and give yourself a couple deep breaths, right? No more than 90 seconds. So if you come back to it, that's fine, but we don't want to overwork a muscle, right? I mentioned it before, if we are foam rolling before a workout and we are on these moves for too long, it can take away from the muscle and make it harder for it to contract during your workout, which is not what we want. We want it to work for you. And if you're holding it for too long on another day or after a workout, it can also create more tension, and we want to avoid that. So there is kind of a fine line. More than 30 seconds for sure, but more than 90, you're kind of pushing it. Okay, so that's our abductors there, and if we're going to go to the adductors, I'm going to show you on this leg because it's a little bit easier. Very awkward to do in a gym, but if you have a foam roller at home, definitely encourage you. So the foam roller is going to be positioned here, right? It's not going to be on this leg at all. It's going to be focused only on that one leg. And I'm going to literally kind of put it under here. I'm going to go on my forearms for this one and put all of my weight on this. So now this leg back here, my right leg is pretty much straight, just kind of hanging out. My left leg is going to be bent, okay? And I'm on the inner thigh, right? You can come all the way up to kind of the groin. And then rolling it back, right? All the way down, as close as you can, and back, right? And I'm putting as much pressure as I can on this. If I wanted more, I would probably come up more here, or just push myself further onto that leg, right? And use less weight on my right leg, okay? So same thing, when I find that spot, I'm gonna breathe. And you're letting your leg just relax here. You're not holding it up, you're not doing anything with it, you're just letting it relax. And you can also play with the movements, right? So I can kind of bring my leg up, yep, felt that, and down, right? So I'm moving and I'm rotating my hips by moving my legs. And that there's other like directions, other movements that you can do to really try to get deep and really target whatever spot might be tighter for you. So the hip flexor muscles are made up of a bunch of different muscles, but how we target here, right, it's like right under the hip bone, tends to get really tight when we are sitting, right? So if you come up this position and then you put the leg forward and you lean into it, tucking your glutes and everything's nice and tight, this is probably really, really tight on you. Again, from doing a lot of sitting, very, very common. And so for this one, we're gonna get on it the same way, but I'm not going to twist my body. I'm going to stay on only one leg. I'm gonna find that spot right below the hip bone, straighten this leg out completely, like lock my knee, and then kind of relax my leg, but your knee stays locked out. That's the trick. If I bend my knee, it takes away from the tension on the hip. Lock it out, and then kind of let your leg fall, right? So the difference, just so you kind of get it, is between like this and letting my arm down, and this, right? You see it, like I lose all the tension, so you wanna try to keep the knee locked out to keep it nice and tight. And then when you're here, again, you can rotate in and out, find that spot. When you find that spot, I want you to relax and pause and give it those deep breaths. But for some added kind of push, you can lift your leg up, almost like you're doing kickbacks, working your glutes, right? Up, and it gets a little bit deeper in the muscle. And this is also a good way to kind of loosen them before a workout, right? Like sitting on it maybe for 30, 45 seconds, up, down. It can create a little bit more mobility. So now, my favorite, the hip flexor stretch. And there is more to this, but we're gonna just keep it short, you know, every episode, and then as we get into it, if you find that you need more for the hips, more for the shoulders, whatever it might be, we'll have a take two. So for this one, you're gonna get the foam roller under your lower back, basically right on your glute, right on your tailbone, right? I'm gonna grab my right leg, but I'm focusing on the stretch on this left here. Actually, I guess I'll show you this way, right? So I'm stretching my right, I'm bringing my left in. Again, lock it out, squeeze, and then relax the leg. The more I bring this leg in, right, you can see how tight I am. My leg should be falling a little bit closer to the floor, right? But it's not because I'm that tight. You can also kind of move the foam roller up. That didn't help me, but it might help you. Keep it locked out and breathe. Okay, I feel the stretch. I don't feel anything. So you have to keep your leg locked out. And just let it fall. And then same thing on the other. Again, you want to do, you know, about a minute probably, but I would maybe do 30, 45 seconds for each, and then do 2 sets. And again, if you're doing it before your workout, you don't want to do any foam rolling or even stretching. Don't hold it for more than, 30 seconds, if that. You want to make sure that you're creating more mobility, but you don't want to stretch the muscles out too much, or again, you don't want to create more tension or stop the muscles from contracting. So those are a couple things that you can do with the foam roller, right? You can also grab a lacrosse ball and do a lot of those things as well, especially on the hip flexor, right? Our psoas is in there, and that tends to be really, really tight or really, really weak. But usually if we can hit it with a lacrosse ball, it can help a lot with the hips. It helped me a lot during pregnancy and after, but it's the same thing, right? You would just grab it, put it right on your hip flexor here, right below your hip bone, and then you would just kind of roll on it and just relax. You do not want all of your body weight on it because it will be way too much. You're deep in there with that ball. That can get a lot further than this can. You can use a lacrosse ball, you can use a tennis ball, you can use, I mentioned it before, a bunch of different things. Tennis ball is definitely a good place to start. Lacrosse ball is a lot bit harder, but that will allow you to get a little bit deeper in the muscle. So I also wanted to show you a kind of stretch or mobility exercise here. So you would grab a band or a towel or anything that you can kind of hold your foot with, and we're gonna put it here. Don't let it hit you in the face like those videos, okay? And keeping this leg straight, okay? I'm going to move this down and up, keeping it straight, working my hips. Keeping my chin kind of tucked, my core tucked tight to the floor, down. Keeping that straight and up. Crack, pop, down, floor, up. Okay, this creates more mobility, right? And I can kind of explain. So if this leg was down, right? They're both down together, so my hips here, right? They're parallel, whatever word. I'm really bad at vocab, guys, I'm sorry. But they're here, right there together. Now when I lift this leg, and this leg is down, it's creating that tension, right? And it's a lot tighter. When it's down, it releases that tension because now they're right next to each other. So when I force the opposite leg, so I'm putting on this side, to stay up, it makes it, ooh, this side's tighter, and you get a nice hamstring stretch, but it makes it harder for this leg to move up and down. Or if not harder, it just allows for more mobility so you can continue to work on that, right? Like if I was to do a split, this leg would have to be straight this way, and this leg would have to be way back there. So it allows for more mobility and flexibility. Down and up. This is a great warm-up move for those of you that have any issues with the hips. All right. So while we're here focusing on the hips, I'm going to show you another stretch that I love. So you're going to be in the kind of that runner's lunge, right? So let's do, my right leg is going to be forward. When you're here, and I want to show you this way, it's very important, right? The difference between, okay, this, notice I have that posterior tilt and I'm going forward. Okay, I'm feeling that stretch for sure, you can see. Okay, and I definitely feel it, but I have to put all my weight, I'm feeling it in this leg now too, versus if I was to tuck my hips, squeeze my glutes, I feel that stretch already, right? Letting it go, no tension, tuck, see how it straightens out, and now there's creating a lot of tension. That's all I need. I don't need to go anywhere. Now when I release it, right, I literally cannot go any further, but when I release it, I can go all the way down here. So try that. It's hard to talk through because a lot of people don't get that pelvic tilt, where I'm really like, you gotta squeeze your glutes and your core, because unless you're a gymnast and you can already do a split, you're not gonna move very far, right? You shouldn't be all the way down here, again, unless you're a dancer, gymnast, or you're just really flexible. So that's one of my favorite with the hips, and then another one that I love is coming down into child's pose with wide hips, right? So my hips are nice and wide. I'm gonna go down on my forearms here, and then I come up, and my hips go forward, dropping your hips as much as you can, almost like you're in a cobra, but you're not, right? Because my hips are open, my legs, my knees are out here. When you're here, I'm going to take my right leg, coming over, tap the floor. And then as this one comes in, this one goes out, right? You can kind of see I'm rotating in and out with my hips, side to side. This is a great warm-up as well, because it gets the hips nice and mobile, keeping your core as tight as you can. Okay, or you can always just rock it back and forth here, getting that mobility and the hips that way, right? The body is so complicated, but there's a lot that we can do to make sure that we are feeling our best, taking care of it as best we can, make sure that you continue to set aside time for it because it is super, super important. And hopefully this helped. I want to make sure you guys can move as best as you can, so stay healthy, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.